All right, guys, welcome back to the Lowdown. If you guys love business and wine, today's your episode. I'm joined by the owner, founder, and operator of a very successful winery down in Temecula, California. If you don't know where that is, it's halfway between San Diego and LA. And so today, I'm very excited to bring on Akash. Say what's up to the people.
How you guys doing? Thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, of course, man. Really happy to have you on. So just give us a little background about yourself and the winery.
Bird's eye overview. Well, my name is Akash Patel. I'm one of the owners and operators here alongside my parents. This is a family-run business. Started from the ground with just some dirt and a dream from my parents. And we started this in about 2010. We started with 20 acres of dirt. And fast forward to today, we are now a full-fledged winery and tasting room. We grow our own grapes and we make several different labels of wines and have our own facility.
Nice. What inspired you and your family to get into the wine business?
Crazy idea my parents brought home back in 2001. My parents started in the motel business in a small little town in the 70s in New Mexico. And as they fast forwarded through life and, built and did a lot of things in the hotel industry in New Mexico, my parents ended up getting a house out in Anaheim. So my dad, in his mind, is, well, we got to buy a motel out here or build one. So he was looking for a hotel, and off the 15 back in 2001, people were saying this area is going to grow. So he came out here to look at a hotel, was going to buy it, and saw a few wineries and lots of open land out in wine country. And that also sparked his interest and my mom's interest. And they kind of marinated on that. My dad loved wine. My mom loved her gardening, and just nature. So she quickly loved the idea too. They brought that home and said, well, maybe we can buy land and start a vineyard, and maybe put up some sort of lodging on the property, whether it be a hotel, a resort, or a bed and breakfast. And so that idea started in 2001. They brought home a painting of a vineyard and put it up on our wall, and we kind of just manifested that as a family and came out to Temecula quite a bit to learn more about it and explore what was going on out here. Then in 2010, my parents finally, we found some land, and they finally just said, okay, let's buy this land and kind of go from there. And that's kind of the craziness that just erupted from dreaming big and kind of out of the box. And it's a big step. People definitely think getting into the wine business is all glamorous, but it takes a lot, and it takes a big vision, and it takes a lot of hard work. But people will often, kind of have a misconcept of, oh, if you own a winery, it's like this, not so hard work in a sense, but it takes an army for sure to develop something like this from scratch, of course, from just dirt, which is what we set out to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you and your family had a picture of a winery and you guys in a vineyard on the wall. I think that's really important to do. It's something I'm trying to do, is just like envision your life and really manifest it. And I think you really have to believe it in order to make things happen.
Very much so. Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
the same. That's what my parents have instilled in myself too.
Did you know that you're going to do winery? Did you go to school for business or anything like that, or what did you do before this?
So grew up in the hospitality industry from when I was born. So like I said, my parents started the motel business. Our house was connected to one of our motels. My parents would check the guests in, make the beds. I'd help the people out at the counter checking in guests, and I grew up in that environment. Then fast forward in life, I ended up going to school for business marketing. I felt I had the hospitality background and the basic knowledge of it, business management, the basic, knowledge is to be successful with guidance from my parents. So I went into marketing, in case I ever wanted to start my own brand. Branding was always interesting to me. So I got my degree in that. Never thought, I was going to take on this project in a sense when my parents started the dream. After I finished college, it was, here's an opportunity. Do you want to figure this out? And I was kind of hesitant, because I just didn't really understand it. For me, being 21 years old and this opportunity, you're kind of like, I don't understand wine. I'm not into wine. And you're drinking, your other beverages like beer and vodka, kind of as a younger, I guess, adult drinking,
Mm-hmm.
But once I started coming out here and they started like pushing me to go out here more, and I started learning more about the business and the aspect, to me, it was like a lot of work, a very big unknown, but the reward is pretty satisfactory. Being able to create your own brand, my parents named it after me, so kind of some big shoes to fill, but I was like, we can make something really cool. This industry is really cool to be in, and it's a long road, but it's a lot of fun.
Hmm.
And I enjoy what I do because every day is different. We get to make people happy. We get to make a product with our stamp of approval on it, making sure that it's great quality wine and people are enjoying it. And you're getting people that are coming here to celebrate. So there's a lot to come back. And if they choose your spot, it's really humbling.
Yeah. Well, I really commend you on taking that action. I think a lot of people just get stuck in the what ifs, what if things don't work out, all the different stuff, and they always have a lot of doubt in their mind. And so it's obviously a really big testament to your mental resilience because you're able to do all that at such a young age.
Thank you. Yeah, with guidance from my parents, I saw it as an opportunity. Like I have this potential big road to be on, and a lot of steps and a lot of challenges and difficulties, but with parents like mine, it's nice that you have someone to fall back on and who's been through a lot of different issues in business, from building to zoning to cash flow issues to employees, whatever it may be. They've seen it, they've been there, they've done it, so they've been able to coach me and guide me. And then now I'm, like I can run and operate this, and I was able to kind of go through all the steps, even from the basic stuff like getting a permit from the county, like those things people don't realize, but all those little steps, they take a long time, and it takes someone that's not gonna get scared of falling, because you're gonna fall a lot.
For sure. Well, can you just walk us through maybe some of the beginning hurdles or steps that you have to go through to open a winery from the moment you buy the land until you're opening for business, which like includes any licensing? You can do it very
Yeah,
briefly.
briefly, probably impossible, but I'll give you this. It took me 9 years and my parents 9 years to get an operated, permitted wine tasting room with production. And what that entails is various permits from the county, approval from the associations, the proper equipment, and at the end of the day, all your utilities. Like we didn't have utilities on the property, so there's so many different entities you have to go through just to get it. The ABC, the licensing of selling alcohol and making wine, and then the feds. You have all the fed side things too. They also have their own permits you got to get. So it's an arrangement of just multiple entities that they're giving you licenses and in your pockets too.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy. 9 years. I did not expect it take that long to go from ground to a tasting room. So
Yeah, and
you definitely have to have a lot of resilience and grit to get through that.
you do, and you can hire people to consult and help you get through the process, but my parents were always against that for me. They were like, you need to learn it step by step, because if you don't, now when you hire consultants to do stuff, you have to make sure that they're doing everything correctly, because the steps now. So if you're seeing funny stuff, then you can have a red flag like, oh, that's not right. They're not going through the proper channels, and now I know what channels I got to go through to do anything out here. It was a good learning curve, an expensive and a long one, but to have that knowledge is one of those things where it's like, I'm lucky that my parents are able to give me that kind of knowledge versus what I learned in college or high school, because you don't, this is the real world. This is it, they don't teach you this stuff in school. So it was I guess a good master's program.
You obviously learned all these different things because I think as business owners, it's very easy to just hire out and not be able to recognize the things that people are doing wrong. So it's definitely important, like you said, to learn those things.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
What were some of the biggest mistakes or challenges that you faced early on, and how'd you overcome them?
Ooh, lots of them. Early on, I would piggyback on kind of what I was just saying, that if you don't go through the steps yourself, it's quick to get caught up, because, we did hire, I'm not going to, an engineer, let's say, and they start kind of seeing that you're trying to do these things, and they can do everything for you. They're a one-stop shop apparently now, and they'll get you through everything. But in reality, they're not, and they can't do it. They're just trying to charge you, and by charge you, I mean they charge heavy by the hour, and you don't really know what's going on, and you get a lot of BS answers. And then when I started taking that side of things over, that's when it's like, okay, we know what we're doing now, how to get a permit and all that. So that was a huge learning curve and a very costly one, in the six-figure range costly. So that's where
Hmm.
it's like, whoa, what are you doing here? You just blew that up, and you kind of went nowhere, for so long. Things like that, big mistakes, but you catch them and then you learn from it. And that's the one thing is you got to get back up and say, okay, how do we do this now? Because there's a way to do it. Other people are doing it, right? So that was one big one. Another big hurdle is tough question. There's a lot of small hurdles too, but that was the biggest one was permitting. Figuring out those hurdles again from bringing our power and getting approval for having electricity on the place was its own hurdle, and it's all those little things to get permitted to open is kind of the big hurdles. When it comes to like building and doing all that, that's where my parents' expertise was and what they've taught me and what I've grown up in. So I knew the gist of all that stuff, and those things are easy to put into play. But I think learning how the county and the permitting operates like out here was a challenge. Like in New Mexico, where my dad built all of his motels, he can take his plans in one day, make a phone call, and because an engineer did it, they stamp it and they're good to go. But it's a different ball game out here in California. Other states, obviously, everyone has their rules, but it's definitely difficult to build something out here.
California is definitely a tough market to do things in with all the regulation. In the beginning, how did you fund the business? Did you guys have any partners, or was it just all just you and your family in the beginning?
My parents, we kind of just did things within our means. That's another reason it took like 9 years to get open. We even with the mistakes, even when we were going in the right direction, it's capital intensive. And one thing my parents, we have pride in this, and we've seen what happens with other places when partners are involved, and my dad's just kind of, he's like, no, we just got to do everything ourselves. As we can, we'll do it, and so this is all just done from within my parents and myself and my sisters, and we've been fortunate to be able to kind of get to this point based off what my parents have done with their motel business and how we've gotten here.
Well, that's badass. So just going back, so do you think you were taking all the profits and everything from the motel business and essentially pouring it into this winery?
I wouldn't say profits. I would definitely say they utilize cash flow correctly and money saved correctly over the years of what the motels have given to them, and asset management. I think that's also key. They've had several properties, buying, selling, in there that's a good way, and a little bit of stock market too. So my dad's very diversified.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your approach to like reinvesting the profits? Like, do you prioritize like expansion of the property, marketing, or how do you even just say, I'm going to take home a lot of this profit? How do you decide which goes where?
For the winery side, there's no profit in it right now. There's potential, but with, like you said, the expansions, growing our winemaking program, and it's a split between, we need to grow so much inside the tasting room and inside winemaking, but we're also trying to put up another building. We're also trying to put up a resort at some point in this journey. So currently, a lot of the stuff that we've been doing is working on a new permit for the last 3.5 years to get a permit to put up a 7,000 square foot building so we can do all of our winemaking, have storage on site, and more space to entertain inside of our tasting room. So that's where a lot of the money is going into the engineers, the architects, and the county trying to get this new permit. And now we should be starting the build shortly. So that's going to take up some money. Then now we have new permits. We have a bigger space. We could be able to do some events. Those things will now help in the future, but all that profit is essentially going into expanding and the next phase. And after that, we may see it to where we expand into the resort, and that's going to be taking up some of those profits from essential profits from our current cash flow.
Yeah, well, I think that's good. I mean, it's important to reinvest it back into the business. I think it's very easy to see business owners just kind of want to like start living lavishly or blowing their money on things, but I think it's definitely important to reinvest it back into the business.
Yeah, and it's going to bring up the value over long term, and it's going to make our business more diversified in itself, to be able to have different streams of revenue and income. So it's an investment at the end of the day. And to put it back in the business, it's a no-brainer for us, but it's it's all in steps too. That's the thing, because it's, when we have to do things here, you're not buying one, you're buying 100, so it's also the upkeep of the place too takes quite a bit of expenses and winemaking.
Yeah.
Those are the three major items I would say that soak up any of the profits.
Who was the first key hire that you made, and how did that impact the business?
Key hire.
Like, do you have maybe just walk through like your leadership team? I don't know if you have like any big managers or
Well,
people
yeah,
under
we
you.
did. We definitely started out with somebody who was there when we were just from the ground and wanting to take on responsibility here and help us get to the next step. And yeah, they helped us get to a step, and then we kind of parted ways from there and moved into a different direction. It was a great few years, and we definitely got to a certain point, but I think there was just differences, so we decided to move in a different direction. And
Okay. How many staff members do you have working at the winery?
currently we have around 30.
How do you find good talent, and how do you keep them working for you? Because there's so many different wineries out there in the hospitality business. I think it's easy for people to come and go. And so how do you keep staff?
Love that question. It's something that I'm proud of to answer. We had a lot of turnover in the beginning and trying to find the right pieces to the puzzle. And I literally, in our holiday party this year, I mentioned to our staff, we had almost zero turnover this in one full year. One full year with I think, one or two people here and there, but nothing awkward, nothing bad, all on good terms and small changes and no need to hire new, which was great. And our staff is cohesive. They integrate well with each other. Customers love them. We all get along. And so that energy's there. And so to create that environment, it takes every individual person, plus our management, and plus myself to create a culture that people want to be around and want to be in. So it's cool to see that. That was a cool, like, one of those milestones that aren't recognized. And you kind of, you look back and reflect on the year. And I was like, it's really cool that we didn't have any issues with staffing this year, especially after COVID and all that like big ripple effect from it. It was kind of madness in the hospitality industry. People moving around, companies laying everybody off. So now you have all these, people that don't have a job, but then some are good, some are bad, and you're kind of just getting an influx of it. So it was cool. And it was just kind of a humbling thing. Like, okay, we have a good culture here. So that sets the tone for when people come to the property. If the staff is happy and they're happy to be here, then they're going to give that energy right into the customer, right, to make them feel the same way. So it's a very important thing.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that's great that you've obviously had that this past year. I think that's everyone's dream, is just to build like a culture of family within the business, and not have workers who are like the ones who are working at DMV, like the people who are like, fucking hate my life. And I think that
Yeah.
really feeds off into the customers, like you said. So how do you prioritize distribution and marketing? How do you do your marketing, or is everything for distribution wise like within Southern California?
Great question. So currently in Temecula wine country specifically, we are more DTC, direct to consumer, where people are coming in our tasting room. Not everybody is in the markets, meaning like Costco, Total Wine, your grocery store. But it is a channel we're slowly getting into, but we have a good problem, which is, people are coming to us directly to get the wine, joining our wine clubs to have them sent directly to their homes. So that's the idea, the best business model possible, I would say, in my opinion. But the idea is to obviously grow the brand, reinvest back into getting in that wholesale department. But it's kind of a big leap, and it takes a lot of inventory, I'll say, because we need to now prep for years ahead, because we need to make this wine starting now, so then we have enough inventory for 3 years to start supplying any kind of bigger stores or bigger markets. So currently in local restaurants around the valley, people we love and places we recommend to go to, you can find our wines there. And then to answer your next question, sorry, prioritizing like marketing, we definitely put money back into marketing every month. I think it's very important, whether it be social media, ad campaigns via Facebook, Instagram, or Google. We use Google as well. And then our newsletter, important as well.
I love that. Yeah, I was looking at your Instagram account earlier, and you guys have like 25,000 followers, which I thought was badass. And I love that you guys implement a lot of storytelling in a lot of your reels. I think that's really important for resonating with the customers.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we take a lot of pride in our social media, and it's great that my wife loves like marketing and as well, so she helps me out with all the marketing on Instagram and Facebook, as well as one of our director of operations. She also helps out with the marketing too. So like-minded in the sense of how we want to brand and how we want to portray ourselves and kind of keep it organic and real. And yeah, it's nice to have 25,000 followers. It's amazing to see that too, and we feel a lot of love from it. So it's great.
How many wineries are in Temecula?
Getting close to 50. Operational, probably anywhere between 47, 48. Every year, 1 to 2 are opening up. So, it's kind of been growing by 1 to 2, and there's a plan for around 150 out here. So it's going to grow, but that's probably over the next like 10 years. We'll start seeing more wineries just keep popping up every year.
Yeah. How many was there when you guys first purchased the land?
First purchased the land,
20?
maybe like 15, 20 operating wineries. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, one thing I really love about your winery, not saying this because I'm biased because I'm your friend or anything like that, but I just love that it feels very relaxed and not pretentious. There's a lot of wineries up here in Napa that feel super bougie. Yours is very nice, modern, but it feels like a good place for everyone just to like hang out. And I love that you guys implement all the different movie nights, the different yoga stuff. I think that really sets you apart. I'm just curious to hear what do you think separates you from other wineries?
Definitely one thing that, those things you mentioned right there for sure. We want an environment where everyone feels welcome. You can kind of come hang out. You have different options from wine tasting to grabbing a bottle and just chilling out on our patio, different arrangements of live music that come here, and then the options of like yoga, comedy nights, movie nights, giving people some other fun options if they're not so into drinking and they want to come out and just enjoy the property. They have other reasons too as well. Um, and the wine, of course, I think the wine has a huge factor. We have to be making great wine to be able to set ourselves apart. That's what majority of people are here for, is for our wine and our atmosphere. So if we can get those two and really focus on those and have strong hospitality behind it, that's going to help us set ourselves apart. And that's what I feel like, in my eyes, we're doing a great job, and we always keep getting better, and each year we learn more. So it's nice to keep growing from that. But those three things are definitely huge.
Yeah. I love also that you guys got the brewing. Shout out to
Yeah,
the hat.
I
I don't think
think.
a lot of wineries have breweries attached, so I think it's awesome that you do that also.
Thank you. As we were making so much wine, you started hearing about the craft beer industry and started drinking it. And I was like, we're making wine. Can we dabble in this somehow? And so, yeah, we kind of took it on. Of course, not the main focus here, but it's great that we're able to give quality to our customers that come here. A few products that satisfy the beer lovers, and they have an option to enjoy with us, something that's made by craft too.
Yeah. Do you guys have any non-alcoholic beer or wine?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Just conversations. That conversation is so huge for us right now from our winemaking side of things and just our beverage program currently. We are going to be introducing mocktails, actually, that we've been working on. So we'll have a mocktail to come enjoy on the property. We currently have agua frescas, which you can have non-alcoholic. We've had that for a while, but we can make a non-alcoholic version of that. And then we are talking about making low alcohol wines and possibly a non-alcoholic wine or two to start satisfying this current niche market that may grow into a larger market. It's still such an unknown for us, where we don't want to dive too deep into it, but I don't want to lose the customer base either. So it's something that we need to have something so people can still enjoy our property, because it doesn't have to be about wine. We still have beautiful nature around us and a great setting. So people should feel welcome. They can grab something that's not alcoholic. And we have sodas and like sparkling waters right now. So there's options, and we're going to grow those options as well. But our main focus is always going to be making quality wines, because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even know till recently that they made non-alcoholic stuff. Emily and
Yeah.
I were at dinner one time, and it was for our second year anniversary. And the restaurant that we went to, the girl whipped out. She's like, "Oh, I brought you some sparkling non-alcoholic wine." And I was like,
Oh
"What the
yeah.
hell? I didn't even know that was a thing."
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, it's cool, and we're seeing the industry change, and so it's niche right now, but more people are tending to choose non-alcoholic. So more power to them, and I want to create something for them and try to make sure that, again, you can still come here no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Love that. How do you see the winery evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10 years, more build out, increasing our winemaking program, hopefully increasing the brewing side of things as well. Definitely being able to host some, weddings and events is in the future. Further than 5 years, hopefully that resort where we're starting to build it, or hopefully not sooner. That would be amazing. So all that's in play right now, which is what I have to look forward to and kind of under my belt right now to keep pushing forward and keep working on. So I always tell people baby steps. We'll get there, step by step and day by day. But it's going to be 5 to 7 years until we see everything closer to finished. And even then, I don't know if we'll ever be finished. There's always something.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's what keeps you going.
It's definitely important to keep pushing forward and keep growing and trying to get better instead of just being the person who just like keeps it the same forever. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've obviously seen so much development and changes to the winery, and I think everything's been amazing. So I'm really excited to see how everything goes in the next 5 to 10 years, and if not longer.
Yeah. Well, you'll be along for the ride.
If you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
One piece of advice. That's a good question. I feel like this is something I get asked, or I usually would say to this is just fail faster. Like figure out the mistake faster at the end of the day, because life's about solving some problems and enjoying it. So as long as you can continue to do that, and don't forget about the small moments, the small little wins on your journey, because it's a lot of those that get you there versus worrying about all the big mistakes.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's important to keep getting up, keep failing, because that's the quicker you learn is from when you fail, and just enjoying the moments, like you said. I think for me, I'm always like, once I get to this point in my business, then I'll be happy. And I think sometimes it's important to realize that, it's, the day-to-day things are obviously very important too.
Yeah, definitely.
So these are just some rapid questions that I like to ask at the end. What's your favorite wine from another producer, or your favorite region of wine?
Man, that's another tough one. I don't know if I've explored enough wine regions to say my favorite region. There's so many, and that's why I say that. But I truly do love French wines. That's kind of where my palate is, I guess, if you'd say, my style of wines that I tend to go to. But I kind of say this to a lot is if you like it, it's good. So wine is very subjective in my opinion. So you can find good wine anywhere. Where do I usually tend to drink wines? Well, I mean, Napa, of course, Sonoma, Healdsburg, those areas, like I love, but I do think like Santa Barbara makes some good wines. Paso Robles makes some good wines. Down in Valle de Guadalupe, they make some really good wines. But those are just speaking of the regions that I get to frequent because they're nearby. But when you get to the wine world, it's
Very vast.
Yeah, it's huge. So it's hard to hone that one down. But favorite wine, a Cab Sauv, Cab Franc blend, usually will win me over. So that's my go-to varietals.
Okay. If you could have a glass of wine with anyone in history, who would it be?
Oh my goodness, anyone in history. It's funny. Automatically, I say LeBron James, but if I had to, of course, it'd be great. But I don't know. That's tough. But I guess I got to go with him.
LeBron James?
Yeah.
LeBron James, right? We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
One day.
What's your favorite business book or podcast? I don't know if you listen to podcasts a lot or anything like that, but do you have any favorites?
I guess podcast I've never super got into. Book is kind of my parents' Bible, The Richest Man in Babylon. I would say that book, in a sense, is our business Bible, and something my parents kind of took to heart. So that one, I think, probably sits the highest for me.
What's the key learning lesson from there? I've never read it.
It's kind of just goes over the steps of staying humble and the baby steps of becoming successful and the day-to-days of how to get to those milestones, because it's a journey.
Okay. I'll have to add that to my list of books. I'm always trying to add stuff. So yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, for sure.
If you were to start any other business besides wine, what would you do? Because I'm sure you're obviously an entrepreneur at heart. I'm sure at some point you'll dive into something else. What else would you want to do? Storage?
Yes.
Okay. I like it.
Yep. Zero overhead, very little maintenance.
Nice.
And own the land and build those and rent them out. It's cash flow.
Okay. I like it, man. That's definitely a huge play that a lot of people are doing. So that's awesome. If you were to give advice to anyone who's looking to start a winery or business in general, I know you said fail forward and fail fast. Is there anything else that you'd give to anyone looking to start?
Hopefully you can come across some good mentors. I think mentors, people like my parents, there's a lot of them out there. And if you can surround yourself with like-minded people with the same goals, that's definitely going to help you. And you'll meet some bad apples, but you just got to surround yourself with people who have that mindset, or people who have been through it, and learn from them.
Well, Akash, I'm extremely grateful for your friendship. It's very awesome to see all the success and everything that you're doing in your life. It's very inspiring for me. So, yeah, I'm very thankful for you to hop on the call today. If
Thank
people
you.
want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do so?
Through our Instagram. I feel like we're pretty good at responding on there and monitoring it. So check us out on Instagram. Otherwise, if they want to come visit the property, details from our website or info@akashwinery.com.
All right, guys, you heard it here. If you guys go to Akash Winery within the next year and you mention my name, you will get a delicious glass of wine. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Lorenzo. This is Akash. Peace.
Thank you.